Welcome to NPR Radio. I'm your host, Noah Tangay. I'm followed with
Nick Sanger.
and
Sam Neill.
we are bringing to you some human trafficking ideas. So let's start with you, Sam. What do you got to say about your human trafficking issue?
Well, first off, is that human trafficking is obviously a very large issue in the United States, but it seems to affect children a great deal. According to the National Foster Youth Institute, almost 100,000 children every year are in human trafficking.
Wow, that's a lot.
And 60% of them are from the foster care system.
Wow, really? Interesting.
And to me, that's a sign of a couple things. The first, that either A, there's not good enough vetting, or B, this is just plain government corruption and they're turning a blind eye. Because in my research, I found that police would tend to treat victims of this, especially children, more as criminals instead of people who have experienced indescribable brutality.
That's horrible.
And I feel like that's just as big of a problem as the main issue itself.
I totally agree.
Speaking about government corruption, that's where I researched on, and it turns out that 67% of all countries in the world have at least half of its entire government corrupted. Now, this is a large deal amount. Now, if we go to some countries, now with the highest related to human trafficking, with the highest human trafficking rating is Russia, Iran, Belarus, Venezuela, and China. All have high corruption ratings, and the highest being around 90%. Now, also, these are the highest countries for human trafficking. And I think there's a great deal of correlation of how Sam said that they're kind of turning a blind eye. They want greed, and they have greed. They want power. They want the money, and so what they do is they just take the money from the citizens, and they end up with such impoverished state.
So do you think that human trafficking is really is like the government is actually kind of turning a blind eye so they can keep their positions and maybe better influence themselves versus helping the people?
I think the overall citizens are the ones who vote, so I'm not sure how they think in the long term how being corrupted would actually work out. But I think they're very short-term driven, and they just want because I believe they can acquire more money in the term that they have, so they don't care about what happens after. Obviously, they can try to pull some strings and use their corruption to stay in office. So that's my take on that.
Interesting. So you think that government corruption really creates such a massive impact to the human trafficking issue?
Definitely, because
well, obviously we live in the United States. So did you come with any stats or anything about the United States and how?
The United States, they have a low corruption rating, but there are many sources citing how corruption is in the United States still, and how human trafficking is still a big problem.
Interesting.
I mean, to some degree, there's even local government corruption in the Metro Detroit area. I mean,
for sure.
Look at the Detroit education system. You see public schools with water that doesn't work, basic heating and cooling that is practically broken, but the Detroit Public School headquarters building looks like an ornate palace.
Yeah.
Like, do the math on that. That just seems very suspect.
Of course, I totally agree.
Yeah, there's actually a statistic of 50,000 people are trafficked in the U.S. every year, and around half of them are only involving children, in sex trafficking.
The average age for a child entering the sex trade is 12.
Wow.
And the average age of a child rescued by law enforcement or other means is 14.
Jeez, that's insane.
I can't even imagine the kind of mental trauma that must plague these people, because if you're an adult and you're trafficked, that's one thing, because at least you got to grow up. Here, this is in your formative years when you're trying to.
Your brain is still developing, and
Exactly.
You're very influenced by other people.
And it's like making food and messing up a vital ingredient during the process of making it. The final product does not come out well.
Yeah, it's just like actually my book Sold that she was able to be twisted and turned by these by these older people who kind of took advantage of her. Versus like her father, even her stepdad, Lakshmi's stepdad, clearly stated that like he sold her away, right? And so he did the same. He was still able to influence her as well. It shows you that young people are so easily influenced, as they call it, being a sponge.
And the problem is that when you're in those formative years, like I said, you're still trying to find your identity, but there also comes feelings of loneliness and sense of belonging. And what these traffickers would tend to do is be like, say, oh, you're beautiful, oh, you're a great person, etc. Basically kind of buttering them up and trying to create some kind of emotional dependency. And once that starts to be built, then they'll say, why don't you do this for me? I cared so much for you. You need to do stuff for me in return. And that coaches them into becoming basically slaves. And once that final piece clicks into place, it's very hard to get out of that.
Because even in human trafficking as a whole, it's not like you're always confined in a cage. They usually go out, but since they're such a dependent, they literally just can't make themselves leave.
They're often moved around from city to city and state to state to keep out of the way of country to country. Yeah, exactly. I mean, like you even have high-level officials historically, sometimes in other countries or even in the United States, people that are politically connected that have been known to have had engaged in stuff like this.
Yeah. It's true. It shows you the government corruption.
I mean, like it's like these are kids,
Right.
These are children. That is a crime of monstrous proportions, and if you feel okay with doing that to kids, then I really don't consider you human.
Yeah. I would like to kind of move this over now to the poverty side of things. How impoverished people and low-income people actually be more victims of human trafficking. And so through my research, actually, I was able to find that most people that are be at that poverty line or right at that low income level is that they're struggling to find food to put on the table, struggling every day and day, right, day in and day out to be able keep themselves safe and keep themselves healthy, right? Versus maybe that you or I or Sam, maybe it would be a little bit easier to keep not to worry about what am I have for dinner tonight. It's not like shoot I got to find $10 here to get with food or something.
Right.
It's more of we have to worry about the safety things more. People that are low income don't really have to worry about safety. And I think that kind of lets their guard down a little bit more than what we call, you, I, or Sam. And that really shows you that a lot of people actually get trafficked because they don't have their guard up.
And sometimes the only way to make money when you're in that situation, money that actually is significant, is sometimes to turn to crime.
Agreed.
Selling drugs, running, whatever. Stuff like that. Compared to how the economics are in the United States, if you want to make money, a lot of money fast, that's kind of the only option unless you want to create a startup internet company. But even then, that's 50-50.
Yeah, that's much more.
And if you're in poverty, especially if you have kids and you're not able to take care of your kids, where do your kids go?
Exactly.
Either A, they grow up on the street, turn into good people and get out of a situation, or devolve into a life of crime, or they get put in the foster care system.
And
then they're potential targets for traffickers.
Right. Just as a parents, maybe the only option if you can't feed your kid and you don't have money, the option of human trafficking or trafficking your own child is not the worst case scenario for you because you get money and it's one less mouth to feed, and I think that just shows how much poverty really impacts it.
It's very true.
I mean, if you're that desperate for money to be able to sell your child, I mean, if anything, that shows that we need to try to fix the economy. Because that just breaks it.
I agree. Guys, I think that's all the time we have. Sam, thank you. Nick, thank you. And myself, Noah, have a fantastic rest of your day, and thank you for watching or listening to NPR Radio. Have a good one.